All-Star fan voting has closed. The All-Star season is upon us, and so it is time for me to finally announce my 2022 NBA All Star Ballot. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below at the end of this, who you would have included, who you would have left out of my list. Be sure to share your thoughts. We can have a conversation down in the comments. But here we are, starting off with my Eastern Conference starters. I didn't really have too much debate for much of the Eastern Conference starters. The front courts are pretty much locks of KD, Giannis, and Joel Embiid. If you disagree with those, you're just wrong. They're all MVP candidates. Giannis and Embiid, I'd argue, were top 3 MVP candidates right now, and Kevin Durant was amongst that conversation before he got injured. He'll probably slip out of that now. But they've all been amazing this year. Joel Embiid over the last 10 to 15 games has been averaging well over 30 points per game. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably the MVP frontrunner alongside Nikola Jokic right now. He's been absolutely brilliant and one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And Kevin Durant is just doing Kevin Durant type things. Nothing else needs to be said. There's no forwards anywhere near as good as those guys in the Eastern Conference right now. Point blank, period. As far as the backcourt goes, DeMar Derozan is the lock for sure. And Dark Horse MVP candidate this year, has been playing at the best basketball of his career. Improved three-point shooting, although more so just early on in the year, which is typical for DeRozan, which people don't usually notice. But nonetheless, improved three-point shooting. Throw in that with some good playmaking, improved defense. Not that he's some elite defender, but he's not an complete liability on defense anymore. And just great statistical numbers to back it up on one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And for my second guard pick, although his team has not been great, he's been putting up MVP type numbers, has been no part in why the Atlanta Hawks have been bad this year, and that's Trae Young. Every bit deserving of that starting guard spot alongside DeMar DeRozan for me. He's been great. Unfortunately, the Hawks defense just hasn't been good, but that's not his job in Atlanta. Moving on to the bench guard spots, it's DeMar DeRozan's counterpart in Zach LaVine. He's been brilliant this year as well. Continues to do what he does. Has been a great scorer for them and a key piece to why they have been so good. And then James Harden, even though he had a slow start, has been much better as of late. Again, is on a Brooklyn Nets team that's been very good this year. He hasn't been quite as good as he has been in previous years from a statistical standpoint because of that slow start, but still, no doubt, a top 4 guard in the Eastern Conference so far this season. The forwards is where I struggled a little bit more. Jimmy Butler was an easy pick. It continues to be elite on both ends. Still struggles more from 3 than I would like, but a solid mid-range, attacks the rim, good leadership, good defense, good physicality, you name it. Jimmy Butler does it. He's so impactful on this Miami Heat roster, especially considering how much time Bam Adebayo was missed this year, yet Miami have still been so good. Jimmy Butler is a significant part of that. Jason Satum is my second forward. He has been a little bit disappointing this year, as pretty much everyone has been on Boston. He hasn't played as well as I would have liked him to. He hasn't been as productive as Boston fans would like him to be. His scoring in the clutch has not been great. But he's still a top 5 forward in the East for me this year. Disappointing? Sure, but still good. My last forward spot, I don't feel confident about anyone. There's multiple guys you could talk about for this. There's Pascal Siakam, there's Miles Bridges, there's Jared Allen, there's Chris Middleton. I end up going with the latter of those in Chris Middleton, simply because I don't feel Miles Bridges is good enough. I don't feel like giving the Raptors 2 guys, as you will see later, as to why Siakam can't be in here as the second Raptors player. And I don't feel, if I have to give 2 to one team between Milwaukee and Cleveland, I feel like I have to give it to Chris Middleton. And I don't love Chris Middleton's production this year from a statistical standpoint of being an amazing all-star. But I don't feel Jared Allen has been any bit significantly better than him. So I kind of went with Chris Middleton, but make the argument down below if you want to say Jared Allen. And I don't really have an argument against you for that. I don't feel strongly about either of those guys being that third forward off the bench for the East All-Star team. For my 2 wildcard spots, I got 2 first-time All-Stars in Fred VanVleet and Darius Garland. Now, I've been campaigning for both of them to be All-Stars for a while now. Fred VanVleet, sure, the starting point guard for my favorite team being the Toronto Raptors, but he's been brilliant this year. I think he's very well deserving of an all-star spot. The Raptors are not anywhere near the same level of team without him. He is the engine. He is the heartbeat. Playmaking, scoring, three-point shooting, getting to the rim, perimeter defense, you name it. Fred VanVleet does it for this group. And the Raptors are a playoff team right now, so they're not even a bad record. And then Darius Garland, he's my one All-Star for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The biggest surprise in the NBA this season as they sit in the 5 seed, only a game behind the Bucks at the time of recording this, if I'm not mistaken. He's been brilliant. Big steps forward for him this year. He's taken on a big role now, especially with Ricky Rubio out, Colin Sexton out. He's been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant play from Garland this year. Great playmaking, great mid-range game. Well, you're good at attacking the rim. Fine three-point shooter. He just is very much deserving of this All-Star spot for me. Personally, LaMelo Ball, you could argue, should be in here. Jaylen Brown, if you really want to make the argument, but I don't even have him in this discussion. It's really, for me, either LaMelo Ball or then Fred VanVleet or Darius Garland. That's your 3 picks for me personally for wildcard spots, but Fred VanVleet and Darius Garland are my picks on the year. Moving out of the Western Conference starters, for me, there's not really any debate amongst these starters. I have Steph Curry. Brilliant this year. Has been not great over the last month or so, but started off very hot. The Golden State Warriors are still one of the best teams in the league, and so ultimately Stephen Curry locks down this spot. John Morant, Dark Horse MVP candidate, probably most improved player winner at this point in time. He's completely stepped up his game this year. Memphis have played a lot better than pretty much anyone expected, as they sit amongst the top seeds in the Western Conference, and John Morant is the biggest reason for that. In the front court, LeBron. The Lakers may have problems this year, but LeBron has not been the reason for that. LeBron has been doing everything he can, playing different positions, playing in different lineups, playing without AD, playing in a bad fit with Russ and a bad team in general. LeBron is every bit deserving of being here. Nikola Jokic is one of the top runners for MVP right now. He continues to prove why he's one of, if not the best offensive center in NBA history, and that's been no different again this season. He's very well deserving of being here. And then Stephen Curry's teammate and Draymond Green. Sure, he doesn't have the stats to show up in an All-Star game, and casual fans may have no idea why you would put Draymond Green as an All-Star starter, but for anyone who truly appreciates how good Draymond Green is, how important he is for this group, and what he brings to their defense specifically and playmaking on their offense, it's a no-doubter for me. Draymond Green should be the 3rd starter for the West in the front court. Moving along to the bench, we'll start with the forwards, and then we'll discuss the guards and the wild cards in a lump sum, given it is all guards. Rudy Gobert is my first forward in the West. Again, just like Draymond, the stats aren't going to jump out at you, but he will have a few more rebounds, blocks, and points than Draymond. But ultimately, it's that defensive impact. The Utah Jazz, one of the worst defensive teams in the league without Rudy Gobert. And it's because Rudy Gobert's pretty darn good at defense and a pretty darn good rebounder. He's very bit deserving of his spot here. Karl-Anthony Towns is my next pick. He gets himself back in another All-Star game for the first time in a couple of years. His defense has improved this year, which has been very nice to see. He's still one of the best offensive and shooting bigs in the league. Continues to be an important part for this Minnesota team that might actually finally make the playoffs this year. And his play and improvement on the defensive end has been a big part of that. And my third forward is Brandon Ingram. Similar to the Eastern Conference, I don't feel confident about any third forward in the West getting into the All-Star game, but I think Brandon Ingram gets the nod for me. You can argue Andrew Wiggins. You could argue Paul George, although I think he's just missed too much time for me and ultimately isn't going to play in the game, even if he does get nominated as an All-Star. But Brandon Ingram has been a big reason why the Pelicans has been anywhere near as competitive as they have been, because ultimately without Brandon Ingram, without JV, without Josh Hart, that team's just a mess outside of that. After that, they don't really have that many good NBA quality players on the roster. He's been great. Missed time early, but very good score for them, and facilitate and play make and create for them a little bit as well. Without him, this team would just be pretty much right where Orlando is as far as the record standpoint goes, and full credit to Brandon Ingram. He's been good. But moving on to the guards, in no particular order in terms of who's the first All-Star and who's the fourth, we will start off with Luka Doncic. Started slow, as Dallas did. He didn't look that fit. He missed a fair bit of time. But he's been very good as of late, as the Mavericks have been as well. His stats don't overwhelm you in terms of a significant jump from previous years, but they're still good. They're maybe not as amazing as they could be because of that slow start, but he's still very much deserving of an All-Star appearance as far as I'm concerned. And the Dallas Mavericks being the 5 seed, they got to have someone, and obviously Luke is going to be that guy. Donovan Mitchell for the Utah Jazz gets in alongside Rudy Gobert for Utah representatives. He's been great this year. I feel like he's taken another bit of a little bit step forward. Not a significant jump, but a bit of one from last year. I get the sense that he could be that even just a little bit more dangerous come playoff time, even more so than he has been in the past. Still not someone who's going to be an amazing playmaker, but can score the ball at an elite level, and ultimately that's what he's there to do. Moving along to the Phoenix Suns backcourt, Chris Paul and Devin Booker get into the All-Star game again. Devin Booker kind of gets hidden in the shadow still of Chris Paul, but he is the guy. He scores when they need buckets. He is that guy for them, and Chris Paul does still get some key buckets for them in the clutch and facilitates a lot for them, but Devin Booker is that guy, 20 plus per game score on most nights. He's just a bucket. There's no doubt about it. There's a reason that people keep trying to compare him to Kobe. Obviously, Devin Booker doesn't like that, and no one else is going to ever be Kobe. But Devin Booker knows how to score the basketball, similar to Kobe Bryant. That's why he's here. Chris Paul, older, stats aren't there as much. Production from a scoring standpoint isn't there as much, but he's averaging 10 assists for a reason. Man knows how to facilitate. Man knows how to play make. Man knows how to lead a team. There's no doubt about that. And so he's been brilliant this year and is every bit deserving of this All-Star appearance. That does leave off the likes of Andrew Wiggins, who has a potential to be that third forward. The likes of Damian Lillard, who I just simply think has not been good enough, nor has he played enough to earn a spot this year in the All-Star game, which seems weird, but here we are. And that also leaves the like of Paul George out, who could make it, depending on how voters value his production pre-injury and how much time he has missed gets impacted. And same goes for Anthony Davis. I really hope DeJounte Murray gets in. If he gets in as an injury replacement, I think he should be the next man up as a guard or a wildcard spot, but that remains to be seen. But that is my thoughts on the 2022 All-Star. That is my pick for my 24 men in the 2022 All-Star game. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below what you guys would agree with, what you guys disagree with, and be sure to have a conversation down there. And if you want to hear expanded thoughts on the 2022 All-Star ballot and a bit more debate and discussion, I have launched a podcast that I will be having live tomorrow. As of the time of releasing this, it will be live on Monday. So be sure to stay tuned for that. The link for that will be down in the description below. So if you want a bit of a longer form, a debate, a couple of under NBA YouTubers you may know, then be sure to stay tuned for that. Link down in the description. That being said, like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video for more NBA content like this. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.